Hello everyone, welcome to our Laravel Real-time Chat Application series. In this episode, we're going to implement the Messenger chat APIs for our Messenger chat application. So let's start. In this tutorial, we'll create a private Messenger channel with a sender and a receiver, and after that we'll check messages in front end, and after that we'll create message table with model. Actually we'll build one-to-one chat app, that's why we'll use in a single model and a message table, and make send message API. If we go to our resources j/app.jsx, we have already made a private channel for this. Actually for one-to-one chat application we'll use private channel, right? For group we could use like a presence channel, but it's not necessary for our case. So let's comment out this and let's change some things, like for messenger how our channel will work. The concept will be, if we click on this name, like this is a user of previous go, if we click here we'll get his ID, right? We can get his or her ID, like his ID is 2. Okay, and a user is authenticated, like Maniruzzaman-Akash is authenticated, his user ID is suppose 1. So definitely to make a channel like this we need 2 user, right? So one is sender, one is receiver. For me, like he's a sender and he's a receiver. So our messenger channel, our channel will be like so: messenger, then dot 1 means it's sender, and dot 2 means it's receiver. So our channel renamed will be like so. But definitely this 1 and 2 would not be static, right? This would be dynamic, definitely. But for now, as we're not working on front end, or we're not working with React.js for this episode, let's keep this 1 and 2. But if we work with React to implement this backend stuff, we get this data dynamically. And we know we need to change on 3 places where we'll equaling this, and at channels.php file where we have making our routes. So here would be like dot, and then first would be, it could be like, we can name it like sender, and second part could be receiver, right? We can name it like receiver. Okay, here, and third part is we need to change on message sent, right? Instead of messenger, like we need to dot 1 for sender and dot 2 for receiver. For now I'm giving this static, don't worry, it will be dynamic. Okay, as we have changed this channel stuff, route stuff, I'm prefer to create new tinker session, like to test PHP artisan tinker, and in there just let's a message like this, message equal hi, and then dispatch the event. Okay, we have dispatched the event, and let's see if we get the message here. Yeah, we have got this here, and also let's check it in here. Yes, channel private messenger 1 2, and it's subscribed, and then channel dispatch, perfect. And we have seeing this one error, like class name is class. Yeah, let's fix this because it's not good if we see this kind of error. It's in chat sidebar, maybe we have made something wrong by naming. It would be in component chat sidebar, and maybe like control F, and then class equal. Actually there would be no class equal. Let's replace it with class name equal, replace it. So perfect, and save it. And now so our error will be gone if we just reload this. Yep, no error. So what's the concept here? Concept here is for messaging we need actually 2 users. One is sender, one is receiver. So let's create our messages table on model. Is partition make model message and migration also, and model, and also we will create a controller for this, and also resource is not necessary. So like this, enter. Then if we go to our models we can get this message model. If we go to our database we can get this messages table, perfect. we need definitely a message, so let's create a text field message and also duplicate this. Let's create unsigned big integer, like we can make it like sender id and who sending the message, and also the receiver id, right? Unsigned big integer, and it would be the receiver id. We can make things really complicated, like we can make if the message has been seen, if the message and many more stuff. But for this is for this episode, I think it's not necessary to make this so much complicated. I think if you got the idea, then you can make it as yours. And none of the field would be nullable because everything must have to be given to create this message. So let's migrate this. Okay, so message table migrated. So add those field in protected fieldable. So like give the field like message, then sender id, then receiver id. Okay, done. So we need two APIs. One is we need to fetch all of the messages which someone sends to me, and also I can send to a message, like one post API to send message and one get API to get all of the messages, right? And for doing that, we'll use the built-in stuff examples from our if we go to our profile from here, we can see like we can like update this profile, like click on here, look, this is this updates, and if you just inspect, you can see that a request has been triggered whenever you call this. Like look, there is a patch request triggered with this profile route, and then it's updated, and if you click on the response, like this is updated, this is managed with inertia.js. Okay, so we'll actually create similar with this. Like let's go to here. If we go to web.php, we can see the routes like get profile, patch profile, delete profile. So we'll create same as this, and definitely that must be authenticated. So we'll create our endpoint in here. So for chat, we'll actually grouping our routes based only for chats. So it would be better than refactoring would be easier. So like our route group, we have giving a prefix of chat, and then and definitely like we can make like API slash chat, and then uh, we can make it as like for that part as would be like we look with this profile dot multiple times. I think we don't necessary, we can reduce this like so, chat dot, and inside of this function we can actually make things simpler. So now we don't need to write the redundant stuff every times. Like we can get app chat like app APIs chat message. It would be like chat and message. So we don't need to for get route, we don't do anything right here. Also for here also don't write anything. We have already chat dot messages or chat dot index, or we can write also chat messages or something like that. But I think it's chat dot is enough. Chat dot index to get all of the chat messages, and also create we have a controller like message controller. So let's edit in here, sage controller, or we can make actually or for chat message we can use this chat message controller and get this from index. Okay, and also just duplicate this and create a post for this, and which will actually send some message d to store. Okay, so our route name is chat.index and chat.store, and our URL prefix is API slash chat message. Okay, for post and also for get. And if we go to profile controller, and we can see how the things working for React and Laravel. Like for getting user, we can click like request of user, so it would be an user instance at the current logged in user instance. So for let's go to message controller, and just for this case let's get copy things from this request copy this and paste it in our message controller. Okay, so instead of edit, let's name it like index. But as for inertia, we are seeing that we have to give and a view and a view file to render. So I think it's not necessary to message controller for this. Maybe we can use chat controller because we have already passing our data in this chat, right? So I think it's not necessary to do things here. Let's just make or do things in chat controller, right? So in chat controller we can get the request here of request and can get the user all of the messages for this user, right? So like messages equal message, where we can make a simple where clause where sender id equal to this user id, right? Like request of user and then his id. Also keep it in. Okay, and then just get all the messages. So I think for our case, message controller is not necessary. We can just delete this message controller from our part, delete it, and also we have to change from web.php where we're making this. And if we go to web.php, we're seeing that, but our chat route is not in here. Maybe look at where is our chat route? Yep, our chat route is in auth.php. I think it's not a good practice to keep chat route in auth. So cut it from auth and paste it in web.php. Paste it in here in this portion, and also instead of message controller, control D and make it like chat controller. And also we have like we can give like only this chat, and other things is perfect like as it is chat controller index and also chat.index. Okay, so things are going to work perfect. Now let's change this in chat controller. In chat controller we have all of the messages, so we need to pass same as like if we go to profile controller, how we can pass data from here. Like we can pass an additional array or with or whatever way we want. So everywhere support by inertia. Just best way is like pass this as a messages. So if we go to here and then pass these messages, right? And for now let's keep it like this. We can update later. Let's go to chat route to see if anything breaks or not. Yeah, it breaks. Like chat controller does not exist. Yep, we have not imported that chat controller. So let's right click out and control import it and remove this message controller. We don't need that. Yep, now it's perfect. Next thing is we have passed messages as a props actually in this route. So if we go to our resources, views and the files, so resources, views, sorry, JS and component and chat. If we go to our chat inside of pages, here is the chat and chat.jsx. So there, look, there is a props here. So what's this actually? As we're working with both PHP and JavaScript simultaneously, what we can pass this data in this props actually. So in this props we can get props dot messages, props dot others, whatever variable you pass. So for JavaScript, for PHP it's an array, and for JavaScript it's creating a props, an object from here. So let's see, let's just console log the props to see how things are working and what we got this from in these props. So let's just console log this data so that we can understand what's the props actually here. So console log props, and if we go to front end, if we inspect it, wow, we can see an object. Let's see what's the object here. So we can get auth. Wow, we can get actually authenticated user. Perfect. And we can also get is getting this error. If there is an error, we can keys messages. Yeah, we have seen the messages. Wow, perfect. That means what messages we can we have sent to some specific user, we can get this in here. Okay, that's great. Let's add a message by PS partition tinker, new message, and the message would be message message. Let's add a message so that we can check simple message, and we need two things like sender ID and receiver ID, right? So for sender ID, we have to give a valid user, right? We don't give to invalid user, right? So we have a two user. Just let's copy this one. Let's add multiple user, add one row and just paste it in here. So delete row, and just maybe we can just duplicate this row for now. Okay, so let's make it one and make that it. Let's make it one and make this one, and that's true, and it's like John Doe. You can also do that using paste partition tinker, johndoe@example.com. Okay, so we have two user. Perfect. So suppose this is my account, and this is another user. So just let's add it here. Sender ID 2, receiver ID 1, and then message save. Okay, so if we go to the message table, then we can see one message. Perfect. Now if we just reload it, so let's see if we got the messages or not. If we reload it, if we go to the messages, look, we have got the one messages in here right now, but it will be actually changed, like we don't get all the messages using this query, right? What's necessary, like if we click on a user, like if we click on this user, we need to get only of this user and my only user ID of him and my user ID, right? So how we will implement this? So if actually we will create another route like this chat, and then if we click here, if we click this user, we'll get this ID and go to in another route like chat/12. Is this user ID. Okay, so we must have the user ID in our case. So and then we can easily get the data in here, like we have the user ID, we have the receiver ID, and we have the sender ID, right? For handling those stuff, let's create a new file clause repositories, and then chat repository.php. So it's a PHP class where we will handle our data related stuffs. Okay, so let's copy from any class, like copy this kernel class, copy Ctrl+C and paste it in here, and remove those methods. We don't need these methods, and also remove this kernel, and let's rename it chat repository, and also don't necessary this, and instead of app/console, our namespace will be repositories, right? Okay, so we have the chat repository, and in here we will use this get user messages. Okay, so what we will pass? We'll pass a sender ID and receiver ID here, sender ID and also the receiver ID, right? Okay, so perfect. And in here we will actually make a query so that we can get all of the sender ID and receiver ID messages. Perfect. To check our SQL query if it works perfectly or not, let's add some different messages like sender ID 2 and receiver 2 and 1 and also change this. So if we get sender ID 2 and receiver ID 1, what messages we should get? 2 and also this, because we need all of the messages where he is a sender or he could be a receiver. So if we go to select all from messages and also with sender ID 2 and receiver ID 1, if we run this query, and we can get two messages, but the query should not be look like that, right? So what we need to implement, like where this or or sender ID, or just reverse, like sender ID equal to 1 and receiver ID equal to 2. So your condition would be like look like this. If we click here, so wait, we can get the right messages. So let's edit to message 4. So what we should get: message 1, message 3 and message 4, right? So let's see if it works as it is. So just come there, message 1, message 3 and message 4. Perfect. So our query would be like this, right? So we need to make where clause and or where clause, but definitely with some condition, with properly. So let's do this in our Laravel Eloquent. Or also we can also use DB query for this, but that doesn't matter for our course. So we can use this, or we can use a shorter one also, like we can use where in sender ID, sorry, where in sender ID, where in sender ID 1, where sender ID in. So we can use like 1 and 2, or sender ID, receiver ID in 1 and 2. So we can also do this approach faster. So we have got the same. So we have to use this approach. This would be better for our eloquent query. So let's write that. So just return. We don't need to save this in a variable. Just return message and import it, and then where in also it should be like sender ID, sender then ID, and it could be like sender ID and then receiver ID. So comma and also the receiver ID, yeah, and also just same for receiver ID. Just it would be receiver ID instead of sender ID. It would be like receiver ID, sender ID, sender ID and receiver ID. Perfect. And then just get the all of the messages. Okay, all shift F. Perfect. So in our chat controller we'll use that repository in construct. So as we're using PHP 8.1 or PHP 8.1, so we can use this like directly private chat repository, and then chat. Okay, so in here let's import it, chat repository. Perfect. And here this chat equal to chat. Okay, so for now we don't need to write any query in here. It's not necessary. We can just use this chat get get user messages. We'll use sender ID and receiver ID. Perfect. And for sender ID we can pass like request and then user of ID, and also the receiver ID. Actually we will get that from here. Actually we can get from the request, or from the additional parameters. So it would be like int of receiver ID, but definitely for that we need to pass that from our route. And also we can make one, like we can use what sign, means it's optional. So if someone give this receiver ID, then we give him, we give him the data of those, otherwise we give him empty message. Okay, so like is set. So or we can make a messages variable here, messages equal to empty of this receiver ID. If this receiver ID is empty, then messages would be empty, and otherwise the messages would be this. So let's cut it here and paste it here, this request, and also in here comma this receiver ID. Perfect. And that's it. And instead of here, let's just paste it here. Perfect. Okay, so also we have to pass this receiver ID optional from our route, right? So go to our route, go to web.php and add those. So in route, if we give a like for this get route, after that, if we read like receiver ID and then after what sign, then it's actually optional. So we can give receiver ID or we don't want, it's optional. Let's just see our your front end works with that also. If we just reload it, and by default from also, as we're seeing that error as an in our chat controller, so in receiver ID let's make it null by default because it could be null for this case. So reload it. Yep, now it's working perfectly. And as there is no user ID here, and if we just get the messages, we're getting empty messages. Perfect. And if we like give the receiver ID like for receiver ID 1, so if we give like chat then 1, and we should get the messages with the receiver ID and we should get more messages. Yeah, perfectly. So we have get 3 messages. So yeah, we have got perfectly the where sender ID is 2 and receiver ID is 1. Awesome. So we have made the get API for our works, and let's remove the models here. We don't work any model stuff in this controller because we'll use the repository pattern. We'll get if there needs any query, we'll do that from the repository. Now let's do the next APIs, like copy this, copy duplicate this method and paste it here. So it would be like chat store, and rename the method to store. And also we don't need the receiver ID for now. Actually we can get that from the control from that view. Also we can get that from web.php also for post route. Actually in that route we should get the receiver ID, right? Perfect. And okay, so this should be same as that. And if empty receiver ID, then we'll pass the you can get someone not message. So like we can if empty, so for now we don't need to handle those stuff. If empty of receiver ID, then we can say we don't need to handle this return. So that's it. So and also we don't need to render here for store method. And first let's validate this request validate. Also we can use additional request validation class for this case also, but I'm just skipping that for now. Request validate, and what we need to pass from our front end, definitely the message, right? Message should be passed, otherwise we should not work. So message would be a required and a string. Perfect. And also we don't need receiver ID because we have got the receiver ID from our route. So I think this is okay. Perfect. And if we don't get the receiver ID, we don't proceed. And if we get the receiver ID and get the message, and also we have the sender, then let's create the message, right? So in the chat repository we will do that. In chat repository, let's create another method for send. So send message, let's rename it like send message. So we don't need to pass the sender ID and this kind of stuff here. We will pass a array data from our controller. So in message, what we will do, we'll just call this create method and do the data. Okay, so perfect. But we don't need to pass all of the data from the controller, or it's I think it's enough. So get all of the data, and okay, that's it. And if we go to here, we can call this let's do this in try catch, because sometimes it could be an error. So this chat send message, this chat send message, and yeah, we have to pass the array here. And what the array would be, we should pass the sender ID. Sender ID is request user of ID. Sorry, it should not be look like this, because we request also already is an object. Sender ID, then receiver ID, and then message. So message equal, it would be like a request of message, and receiver ID would be the receiver ID from here, receiver ID. So let's get the receiver ID from here. If there is no receiver ID, we don't process, right? So our core logic would be perfect. Okay, perfect. And if the message is sent, then we can say whatever, but if the message doesn't send, we can throw an exception and redirect to that any page. So if we go to product controller, we can see how they proceed. Like after doing something, they just redirect to a route. Like let's use this same in these cases. So redirect route. So import this redirect, and redirect route for this our case would be chat.index, and we need to pass the receiver ID here. Receiver ID is this receiver ID, right? So we'll redirect him to there. Also for error case, we can also do this, or we can also add some message to the in here, but for now let's keep it like that. And yep, that's perfect. And as requests come from the front end, I think it would be better if we just cast it to integer. Then it would not be any security issue for this case. So I think that's perfect. So we have done the get APIs for the messages, and also the send APIs for to send the messages. And in the next episode, we'll use this React stuff to send messages to any user. Also, we'll work the broadcasting or event related stuff. Also we need to do anything. We need to do things like in here, like in this portion, we need to like event. We need to trigger the event like new message sent event, and also, and from here after a sent message, we definitely get a message, right? So we can get the message here, and we can pass the message in here, new message sent. Then an event will also dispatched. Okay, that's perfect. So this is actually our backend work for this. So in the next episode, what we can do, we can just do things for front end, like we can write message and send it to any user. So thank you for watching my tutorial. If you face any problem, please comment in the description box, and also you can give a comment to inspire me so that I can give the next tutorial to early, and also like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye bye.